we interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage the Cowardly Dog. Abandoned as a pup, he was found by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband, Eustace Bay. But creepy stuff happens in nowhere. It's up to Courage to save his new home.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
Hi, welcome back to another part 2 episode of Courage. In the last video we showed you how to draw Courage in 3 different forms. Today we're just laying him down with a background, so we start off with delineating the hard lines, which is black, and moving on to placing colors, the basic colors, and the third step would be to add shading to Courage to make him pop out a little bit more in a 3D way. So now we start out with the outline of the background. I want to place him within a forest, so I'm using a layering technique. Basically going from lightest colors up front to the darkest colors in the back, kind of like to give a funnel kind of thing, and making sure the canopies of the leaves of the trees on top are overlapping. They're just that one is in front of the other, and adding in monster faces onto the page to kind of give that scary vibe that there are monsters always behind Courage. Drawing shaded figures within the forest as well. And I've decided to add an alien, a 4-eyed alien behind Courage, ready to snatch him up. So now that we're done with the background layout about what I want in the background, I've went ahead and chose the colors I wanted, and I'm always placing it in this cup in order to have the colors separated from my general box I have. So I want the background layout to be kind of like a color scale, so I'm going from the darkest purples or lightest purples to the darkest purples, and this could also go the same for the darkest pinks to the lightest pinks. So I'm just going ahead and adding in and making the trees various shades of purples. So in the canopy, I'm just going around the areas I do not want colored in, which are the faces, because later on I will be adding the colors and details to those as well. All we're doing is just going tree by tree with different shades of color. Adding the details like the shadows, the bark marks, or the curvatures within the bark, and the shading of the bark itself. Here, as you can see, we're going around the faces. Behind the first tree, the third tree will be like a darker shade of purple, just to place the difference between the front tree and the back trees, so they start popping out a little bit more. making sure I don't go over the spaces I want to color differently. So this canopy for this tree is a little darker than the second tree. Now the fourth tree behind the other trees is going to be just darker and darker and darker the further we go into the background. All this is basically based on perspective. My horizon line is behind Courage, so my perspective is basically at the eyes of Courage. That's where it's coming out from. Just shading in the canopies differently to make sure that they're distinguished between the others in the background. We start coloring in our shadow figures. In this case, since our main character is Courage, I'm not placing too much detail in the background characters, as they are just there to kind of show or make the drawing a little bit more spookier, I guess you could say. And I've decided to add this space that's open above the canopy to kind of show the moon, the full moon, and the stars. And we start coloring in the ground around Courage, first adding in black to kind of shade in the areas in the background I want darker. And then with the purple, lighter purple, I start adding in the shade, and where I colored above the black, there will be, it'll be darker and lighter up front. Now we start adding in the shading for the monster that's trying to grab Courage from behind, which is the four-eyed alien. I start off with the lighter colors, so bright greens. And then I move into my darker colors to start blending them into the background. Getting darker as we go, adding in outlines to make sure the features pop out. Then we go ahead and start coloring in the eyes for the background characters. I decided to use different shapes just to make it a little bit more weirder. And we start go ahead and coloring in the eyes for all the background eyes and monsters popping up between the canopies, the woods, and the hole within the tree. Cat-like pupils on some of them, round pupils on others. And so there we go. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the artwork.